Where's the camera? Oh, it's over there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hit live?
Yep.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta behave.
No, I've been practicing not swearing.
Yeah.
It's not going well.
I mean, technically on podcasts,
Podcast you do every
you can cuss. Just don't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're just practicing using
But if we were on the radio,
Mm-hmm.
like right now, and Kirsten cussed, we get like a $5,000 fine.
Mm-hmm.
Nuh-uh.
And then the second one is like 10.
If they get found out. Like, they have people who just like scrub radios and like listen for like things they're not supposed to do and then send them fines.
Oh my gosh. You might have to start gambling again.
Oh my God.
Too soon?
Oh, this is Ricky's gambling.
That's literally what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, we have 6 viewers, so welcome everybody. This is the F5 Recovery Radio, joined with Adam Martin, Kirsten. What is it, Kirsten?
It's Kirsten.
Kirsten. Oh,
Technically, right? I thought it was Kirsten, but
Yeah.
everybody calls you Kirsten.
Right, yep.
Oh.
When growing up, my parents called me Kirsten.
Okay.
And then my dad always said, your real name is Kirsten. And so I just thought, then why are we going with Kirsten?
Tells you that as you're like 18, so you've been
Yeah.
hearing it for like 18 years.
Yeah. So then I just thought, that's more interesting than Kirsten. So I went with Kirsten.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was like German my whole life. And then I did that ancestry thing. And I'm literally like this much German. I'm like majority Norwegian. Like a Viking. And I went up, I paid the money. Like I paid I had to know, so I paid like the full like $150 and I went up the whole line and I ended up in like, I don't even, like England, right? So like my ancestors went to England and there was a guy who was wrongfully accused of crimes
Oh.
and they changed his name to Outlaw, right? The government, someone in the government proved his innocence, okay?
Yeah?
He was so pissed off, he chose to keep the name. Because they were like, all right, you're not
Yeah,
guilty.
yeah.
You don't have to have the name anymore. He's like, I'm keeping it. And then got a crest, and it says Outlaw, and then somehow changed, eventually to Martin.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you were doing it from the start.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had issues with the government from the beginning.
Wrongfully accused.
I imagine when Adam and Eve.
She got the short end of that stick on many levels. I
Yeah,
think.
she did.
Yeah.
Kirsten, do you have any like wild history like that of how you?
No.
She's from Jamestown.
Oh.
Yeah, that is wild. No, I don't think so. I guess my maiden name's Fugelstead, and there's a lake in Norway called Fugelstead Lake,
Ooh.
where I'm sure outlaws were drowned and
Oh.
yeah, named Adam Martin, and then they moved on. No, I don't have anything super interesting. We moved every 2 years. I'm a trailer park kid, which I thought we had a double wide, and I was so like, ooh, Adam, I had a double wide, you didn't. And then my mom outed me, and she's like, we did not have a double wide. Yeah.
We eventually got a double wide. It had a patio on it too.
That's pretty impressive, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I moved out. My mom got it after I moved out.
Yeah.
So
Well, you can't have anything nice till your kids leave.
no.
So for those who are listening who don't know what a double wide is, like what was the claim,
my
the
God.
fame of like a double wide?
It's two
I know what it
trailers
is,
put
yeah.
together.
Yeah.
But there's people on here who probably don't know what that is and why that's such a significant deal.
That's a good problem to have, to not know what a double wide is. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
So if you're listening, you don't know what this is. It's a good problem.
Yeah. It's like a manufactured home now. You could put that on a basement.
It's like cool to have now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause you can
Oh.
just like have them built and then plant them somewhere.
Mhm.
I mean, I've talked to some people who come from Meads are like, Adam, I used to live in a trailer too. And I was like, oh yeah. He was like, yeah, on the lake.
Oh,
It was my lake house. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, bro. Yeah.
So when your pipes froze, you did not have water?
Yeah.
You could go to their other house? No, that was it.
The Swans man was like the guy who always shows up at your house. Like, that was the only time we ever got food because they like high pressure sale my mom. And then she would like and I think you could use like way back then you could use food stamps to buy Schwans.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's how, like, when I was living in Fargo, 3rd grade, I got an allowance, but it was like, I didn't know the difference, right? So my mom, like, the food stamps were like brown or whatever, and they looked like money. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so she would give it to me, and she's just like, "Here's your allowance," and she knew I was never gonna buy anything other than food.
Right.
And at that time, I don't think there was a lot of criteria of what you, food-wise, what you could buy with food stamps. You could like buy whatever.
Okay.
And so I'd go to the gas station, and I'd buy like candy cigarettes, soda, and
They would
stuff,
take it.
and I would put it up there. And I don't know if they were supposed to or not, but the guy, I think he just felt bad. He's like, this kid's coming to the gas station with food stamps, buying candy cigarettes. You're like, yeah.
They should have known right then. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do remember one time I tried, and the guy's like, you can just bring this back to your mom.
Yeah.
And then let me take the candy. So he was like super cool.
Oh.
It was the gas station. There used to be a gas station over. Oh man, it was like a stop and go or something over by
I wouldn't know.
the Sanford Hospital downtown. It used to be Merit Care way back in the day. There used to be like a gas station where that plaza on the side was.
Oh.
Where like
Yeah.
where. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that was a
I'm
while
really-
ago.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. Merit Care though, I spent a lot of time on 4th floor Merit Care.
What's that?
Psych ward.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
That was
Just a year and a half, I think.
that was too.
You say it so casual.
Yeah, you know.
It's just a year and a half. Give my time.
Yeah.
No biggie. That's like how an Adam just says like 5 felonies, and you see people who like don't know him freak out. And
Yeah.
like, their eyes get real big. Like, okay. It's so funny when we're at conferences and like Adam will do that. Like, I don't know if he's like does it on purpose to test people or just to like kind of fill you out. And he'll just say like, yeah, I got 5 felonies, and then like women will just be like not impressed, but just like, okay. And then you're our keynote. Like somehow they didn't read the bio.
I like doing it and helping people understand their ignorance without even saying it.
Yeah.
Because I'll come up and, Leonard will talk and be like, yeah, I got, felonies. And people are like,
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, yeah, man, I'm a 5-time felon. They're like, and I'm like, why you do that? Like, what's the difference between me, like, even like people who are like, I'm not ignorant and I'm super progressive, or whatever. And they'll just like, even at our core, we're still judgy.
Yeah, oh for sure.
Or like when we did a radio Ricky and I did a show together one time. And it was like a podcast, so the person couldn't see us.
Right.
And so they're like asking us our favorite foods and stuff
Yeah.
and like what we like to do. And then I was like, can I stop for a second? Which one of me and Ricky do you think is white and which one's black? And they seriously, they're like, I think Adam is black or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope.
Why?
Because my favorite meal was this, like, I went to Norway for a honeymoon, and
Yeah.
I had this, like, really, like, fancy, like, which as it wasn't this fancy, like, dinner.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, and when I was in Norway, I had this dinner, and they were like, yeah, there's no black people in Norway, probably. I don't know why they just assumed. And then Adams, I think, was tater tot hot dish.
Tater tot hot dish.
That's about as white
Yeah,
as you
chicken.
can
And
get,
they were
yeah.
just like,
Right, which I'm like, mine probably is white,
it's
too.
still white there, but like that's
Yeah.
white food. Like I don't know a lot of black guys I've met where like, man, I love when my mom makes tater tot hot dish
with the peas and tear it up.
That's wild. Well, in this
Yeah.
neck of the woods, like with Leonard,
Mhm.
you're assuming that was a race thing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They just like, anytime we tell our stories, or whatever, I don't think that people, we categorize people in everything, or whatever. Like when people think of the worst felon, right? They usually think of some murderer. You know what I mean? But it's rarely like, and they'll probably even say Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Right? So they'll automatically assume. But that's because that person has been marketed
Yeah.
to being an evil, you know what I mean? So this is just like, for instance, when COVID happened, right? People were really worried they were going to get COVID from each other. And I noticed a trend of people who were homeless and people of color who were getting outcasted faster than other people out on the streets. They're just like, he probably, because they'll see him sneeze or something, they're like, probably has COVID. But I never saw people say it about white homeless people.
Yeah.
Never, like, you just don't think of that stuff
Mhm.
until you see it, you know. And it's just deep down to our core, we're all criminal
Yeah, for sure.
in some way or another. Or that whole, you know, that female officer who slept with all those guys at that police store, you know what I mean? Why is everyone making it about her?
Right.
There's 4 dudes at that department that cheated on their wives with her,
Yeah.
and no one's saying anything about that.
Yeah.
Why aren't they being fired?
Yeah.
You know, so women. I mean, probably in North Dakota, like the gender rate, like Native American, gay, female. I've seen be outcasted more than anyone. They're
It's
like
not just blatant. It's like via shame, via, you know what I mean? All of those things. But,
yeah.
yeah. And boys can get away with being slutty. And if girls slutty, I mean, girls like sex just as much as boys, you know? But,
What?
well, if you're doing it right.
But it's always been that way. That like, so, I'm not trying to get like biblical or anything like that, but like, you know, the guys that were gonna throw stones at the prostitute. There was guys doing that stuff. Why isn't there a story about a guy that was being like that?
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, cast first stone if you've never sinned, and people like, shit. Yeah, I was literally looking at porn last night.
Right.
You know. Or like the legislator in North Dakota who was like trying to pass those anti-gay bills, and then they found out he was on Grindr.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Always, yeah. Always hide, yeah, it's crazy.
All a bunch of hypocrites. Every one of us. So,
Yeah, me too.
how long have you been sober?
Since 97, so 25 years.
So you're 27.
I am.
Yeah.
Thank God you realized I do have good foundation. So
I'll tell you, the first time that I tried to get sober, right?
Wait, before you tell the story, I want
okay.
to shout out some people who were like commenting.
Oh.
So this is F5 Recovery Radio. We got James Lindgren tuning in,
Oh.
Amanda Erickson, Brendan, Jamie Fugelstead says, "Good morning, my favorite niece."
Is he
She's my
from
favorite.
Norway?
I can't tell.
Jamie, my aunt.
Yep.
Or she? Sorry.
Yep, we
We're
have
losing viewers.
Heather Rodman, Cindy Jangla Jones in here, Dallas Jorgensen. Ooh. Cindy threw us 50 stars. Oh, I like that. And Toby said preach. So I don't know who's preaching too. I don't know if it's Kirsten or I don't know, but somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Awesome.
probably both. We could probably start a church together.
Yeah. That would be an interesting church.
Yeah.
I bet you the
I
right
think it'd
people
be
would show up.
fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
awesome.
Jesus would have dug me. I really do.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Just a little
Even if you were
loose.
like, didn't believe in him,
Yeah.
he would have been like, she's cool.
Like,
She's kicking with us. She's
Yeah,
real.
She's kicking. I like her.
Yeah.
You see her? She's over there feeding people fish. I taught her that.
Right. Oh my gosh. Take all the credit. Right. Egomaniac.
Kirsten would be like, this is a cool trick, but I still don't think you were you. It's okay.
I think anybody that could turn water to wine would have been my bestie.
A baller.
Yeah.
Be like, can you do water to vodka?
Yeah. I'd even taken Boone's Farm. Boone's Farm would be fine.
So the first time that I was like, so this would have been 2001-ish. So that would have made me, I would have been like 22. When I first started going to like recovery meetings, right? And I walk into this room, everyone's dressed up. I'm wearing sweatpants and a gray t-shirt or whatever. And like, it was just really weird because I did, like, my dad went to AA, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he went to Moorhead Thursday night, and so that my very first meeting, I was like in grade school,
Yeah.
and I was like that annoying,
Yeah.
hyper kid
Yeah.
that sat in the back of the room, and like all the guys were just like, "Oh, shut up!"
Yeah.
And then the women are like, "Come sit with us
Yeah.
and eat candy," and so anyway, and they used to smoke
In meetings?
in the meetings
Yeah.
back then. I mean, it wasn't actually. They didn't stop that long. It wasn't that long ago. It was probably, I don't know,
Like when the laws passed? or
maybe
when they just
12,
decided?
13 years ago.
Mhm.
They were still
Okay.
smoking at the clubhouse.
Yeah.
But like there was, it was. I never saw a meeting like a real,
Mhm.
like a speaker meeting where they were smoking in. It was usually like a clubhouse or whatever.
Okay.
By the time I got to it,
Yeah.
but my dad, they were smoking in the center mall or the Holiday Mall, like it was like in the meeting,
Yeah.
you know. And so, anyways, I show up to this meeting and there was a bunch of guys there, and they were all like, "You go sponsor, you go sponsor." And then I saw Kirsten, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm an alcoholic." And then, then I met Matt. And,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, she's with him."
Yeah.
Then I had a chance because she's like, "How tall are you? Like 6?
I'm 6 feet tall, yeah.
You're 6 foot?
Mhm.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were taller.
I know that I've seen my presence is bigger.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm just really short.
Well,
5'7".
yeah.
So, and then Christy's, I think she's
Oh,
got to
that's
be 5'9",
5'11",
5'10".
Yeah, she's got to be close to Jel, because Jelsa's 5'11".
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Man, tall girls everywhere.
It's a good thing. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a good thing. It's hard to date when you're 13 and this tall, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine.
But when you started coming around, you just didn't have enough felonies to catch my attention. So,
Oh, I love Matt.
yeah. I'm sure when I brought Matt home, my parents were just like, so he doesn't have a driver's license, insurance, a job, but he's really nice. You know what I mean? And he's got these felonies and there's so much hope for him. Anyway, I was trying to explain to my parents that I was building a career. When you're in and out of jail, you're like, I'm actually building a career.
Yeah.
I just need to start out this way first.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my whole intention when I got all my felonies was on one day.
Yeah, I'm gonna build on this.
Actually there is some truth to that. Like it wasn't like, oh, I got all this history now I can like go, I want to do something great. It was more along the lines like, I'd be sitting in jail and be like, I just want it to be different. Like
Yeah.
I had I remember even back in, when I was starting 8th grade, and my mom was like bringing me to my first day of 8th grade and thinking it's going to be different this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't even barely like drinking yet. Like I had drank and did some drugs and stuff, but I always had these ambitions to be different than I was, and I never.
Every time we moved, I was gonna be a new person. I was
Yeah.
gonna be a new person, but
Yeah, that's what I was telling Kirsten, like, before we started, like, my move from California to North Dakota was like, all right, I'm going to be, Vegas is behind me, literally, like, Vegas is behind me, that life is behind me, not going to gamble anymore, I'm going to do this new life and start over and, like, be who I really wanted to be. Like, I was still trying to figure, in my mind, I was still trying to figure it out back then, but then when I got here and realized it was even more accessible and even easier to do, and I was in a new place that no one knew me, so I didn't have to worry about really hiding it or hiding gambling or hiding anything. It was just like, well, that went out the window. That was fun. How come, like all the thoughts, all the plans, everything that like I was going to become, just completely went out the window. And I was like, yeah, no, it wasn't really that bad. And then it started to justify, and you start to be like, okay, this is cool. Like I'll be fine. It's actually easier now that it is closer. I don't have to spend as much. I don't have to spend as much money. Like getting there, like in gas and hotels and all the other things. Now it's just cheaper, so I'll spend less. Yeah, and that quickly deteriorated very, very fast.
What's it like having a gambling addiction? Like I can't I think
it's not me.
it's probably it's probably like one of the things that's not talked about very often, but in my opinion has almost greater damage from a family, because you can. I mean, I went out and lost a paycheck, and then I'm like, man, I'm just gonna buy cheaper alcohol, or something, like trying to manipulate. It's the same kind, but it's like, how did it happen? It's probably more like huffing. You know what I mean? Because it's just like quick bursts. Because you're like, going to the casino. you know, making your bets. You could lose your ass in like 20 minutes.
Right.
And then the high's over.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And then how much maintenance is there? Like, what do you tell your wife? How do you hide this money missing?
Yeah.
How do you pay your bills?
I just got really good at lying.
Yeah. And that's not you. Like,
No.
that's not you. It's so,
No.
like, addiction is just not, it's such a small part of me, but it's all people see, you know, when you're in the middle of it.
Well, and that was the why that I think that stuck more than like doing drugs and drinking, because that you could physically see. Like,
yeah.
I would get pale and just, you know, I was losing a lot of weight really fat, like just a lot of other things. But when I gambled, outside of, you know, especially when I got divorced, after that point, I had no responsibility to anybody with my money.
Yeah.
Like, as long as bills got paid, kind of. And even then, I was like, fuck them. Well, we're not on the radio, so
Whoa!
it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of
me.
you know, but it was like, it was that kind of idea of like, it doesn't matter at that point. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to care, or don't have to do anything, because you just float, or, you know, you're always shooting for the next big win. And then the big win would come, and then I would get caught up, and I was like, oh my God, whew, relief. Okay, cool. And then you'd be like this, and I was like, this isn't any fun.
Yeah.
And then you would just like bet heavier, and then heavier and heavier and heavier, and then it's like, okay, now I'm in the hole again. But the only way to get out of this hole, I could keep literally penny slotting it, or I can go to the blackjack table and max bet every time, because if one of these hit, if I split this hand, if I do whatever I'm going to do and get this nice surge again, then either I could, in my mind, I could just leave and use that money to get caught back.
Do you ever think, like, if you're on a winning, like if you're winning, like playing blackjack, I imagine you played blackjack, and you won like a couple $100, but you were minimum betting. Do you ever have the thought, I should have max bet those? Like, I would be in a much better place right now if I would have done the 50 instead of the 10.
Yeah. Or, and then I got to the point where it's like, because, you know, like when you're doing blackjack, you know, you always have you're gambling the tip money that you give to the dealer. Yeah. And it's like, oh man, if I would have given the dealer a little bit more money, somehow that that, you know, swaying the odds would have, like, you know, maybe made things better for the table. Yeah. And I hated being like anywhere, like I didn't want to start, and I hated being anchored because it was too much pressure. So like if I could just kind of float somewhere in the middle. But then I remember, like, no joke, like I had a really, really bad anchor who kept messing up the table. Like, because obviously blackjack, you're not playing against each other, you're playing against the dealer. So as long as the dealer loses, or, you know, or something or whatever, then everybody else wins. But then when
that last guy would be like, he'd be like
screwing things up and just splitting twos.
Yeah, just do
all
some
sorts
crazy
of really dumb
things. Be like, you don't hit that, bro. And then he, you know, he doesn't even have to do anything. Right. He doesn't have to break or win or nothing. Yep. It was the card that was meant for the dealer. Yeah. That would have broke the dealer, but because he took the card, the dealer hit 21. Yeah. So that anchor position
is a lot of pressure.
You're talking about. Yeah.
And so then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to do blackjack anymore. Like, I'm putting too much control in someone else's hands. Right. Like, I'm going to start sports betting. I'm going to start going online, because then I don't have to worry about anybody else. And then what was even better, like, because now you can, you know, gamble. Sports gambling is legal now. But at the time, all the like very illegal sites that I was betting on, I could just do it myself. And then I could just do it all times. I remember, no joke, it was like I would leave the bar at like 1:55. I would go home, just, you know, check in with my wife now, my girlfriend at the time. Was like, hey, you know, I'm home. I'm like, I'm just going to be up watching TV, which I would. I would put the TV on, but then I'd be on my phone, and I can sports bet. And I was gambling on, like, it was like I don't remember, there was like Russian tennis players you can bet on. I don't follow tennis, and I definitely don't follow anybody Russian. But I was like, well, this is where the action is, and you know, you can see where the hot games are, and so I'm just doing parlays and all sorts of stuff, all very legally, all online, and
hot Russian tennis games.
Yeah, I was just like, man, and this was like, man, this is the life.
Is that the like the NA, or not the, like the what do you call natural ice beer? Yeah, is like betting on like foreign gay, like, just like,
let's see what happens.
Like, I'm down to $10 or $5, and I'm buying Natty Ice at the liquor store for $3.98 a 12-pack.
Because it's like, it's gonna still get the job.
$2 on the Russian. And
it's just like, and that's, I mean, again, as we've all had in our stories, like there's definitely been a lot of moments, but those moments were like, what is going on?
So did you go to treatment for gambling addiction?
Mm-hmm.
And then how long was that?
So I was there was a 30-day, it's called Vanguard, in Minnesota. So there was 30 days for that. And then after I got done, then they're like, well, I was like, all right, sweet. Got my gambling under control. Like, mind you, I had a pending court, or they hadn't charged me yet. But I definitely was like facing charges because of stealing money from work. And so I was like, okay, now I was done with treatment. And it's like, me and my wife are still figuring things out. Still don't know what's going to happen with these charges. I still don't have a job at this point, but it's like, all right, cool. I did this. And they're like, well, you should go to aftercare, outpatient.
Yeah.
And I was like, more treatment? I was like, fine. I was like, whatever. Because at this point, I was just like, I just need to get back. I just need to get back to life. I need to figure out these things out and try to do all these things. And so then it's called Gambler's Choice. I had gotten a therapist, and so, like a good gambler, I was like, let's just try everything. So instead of gambling all my money,
all in.
I was gonna go all. So I was at the clubhouse on Mondays, or I went to the clubhouse meetings at noon, and then I had a therapist on Tuesdays. Then I had outpatient Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. So I was just like, everything I could possibly get in.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, one of you guys got to figure this thing out. Like, something's wrong. I got to, my life is literally in shambles. Like, one of you guys have to work. And so then eventually it was just like, started to like kind of piece things together. So like, okay, you know what? Like the therapy works. So like, okay, I can stop that. Like, okay, this makes sense. This kind of solved itself. And so all the pieces just started to fall in place. And then because of the clubhouse, I found Clubhouse and my mom found GA. And so then I was specifically with people who had my addiction, because the AA was great, but like a lot of what they were talking about wasn't like my story.
Right.
And a lot of the things I would share just wouldn't connect with other people. And
so there is GA in the area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so then they led me to GA, and I was like, okay, now I'm with my people. And so then you just start to find like, okay, now I'm figuring out things that are working.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now I'm finding my stride. And then, got the job and all the other things. So then the charges came, and like every time, it felt like every time I was making progress, my face would be on the front page of the paper. Like, I think it was in the forum like 4 times.
Aww.
So I was like, well, that's fun. And so then, like, but I think that's my significant testament to like the recovery community, is that every time I was in the paper, I would get more, not harassment, but more questions, more like squinty eyes from people who were supposed to love me and supposed to care for me and do a lot of other things. But everyone in the recovery community never said a thing. They just completely welcomed me in the rooms and never like
when I
anything
met
at all.
Ricky, when he came into the room, I was like, I know you.
Oh no!
Yeah.
You guys
And it
are
was
gonna pay for the
but it was
same
awesome
amount.
because it was like, all right, cool. Like this is where I'm meant to be. Like
Yeah.
clearly, if people in recovery can love me and just help me just figure out my life and just because again, I don't always know people's stories, but I knew if they accepted me, like, okay, you either have some sort of background in it, you know somebody in it, or something. It's like, okay, I need to just continue to be around these people, and those same people just helped me get through all of it. And so then when I went to court that October, and like somehow, like grace of God, didn't have to go to jail and just do probation and pay back all the money it took and all the other things. When I had all that, then my recovery community was there that night. Like I went, and they were like, really glad you're here.
Yeah.
And I was like,
The more beat up you are, the more we like you. Yeah.
And I was like, this is
But
great.
what a testament to like, I mean, I think for all 3 of us to take something where in the middle of it, I just felt all this shame and like my life is never going to be anything. I'm going to have to, work at a gas station forever. But there's nothing wrong with working at a gas station, but my dreams were bigger than that.
Right.
And like, we're all smart and capable, but you can't show the world that in the middle of an addiction,
Right.
And then that's all people see is like the fact that you're in and out of jail and, you miss holidays. You just, you know what I mean? And that's what you can show the world. But you've turned that into something where you give back, you know what I mean? That's really a cool thing.
That's what led me to talk with Adam. So learning about peer support specialists, I remember like, talking about F5, it's like, okay, cool. Like this is even more my community people, like not just recovery people, but these are people who have like backgrounds and like I don't think anyone in my family ever had a background. I don't think anyone has any of that. So I was like, okay, I need to be around people. Like if I can be around the recovery community, they can love me. I should be around felons. I should be around people who are like have criminal backgrounds because they're gonna accept me and they're gonna see me.
And then
like,
he met us.
Yeah.
He was like,
I was like,
Wait.
all right. And I remember showing up.
Adam's an asshole.
I overcorrected.
Yeah, but it was like I remember I remember coming like they were just moved. I remember came to the black building and they were like in the process of moving and like everyone was like, who the hell is this guy? And I'm like at the time I would wear like a ton of bow ties and I just overshot like what I thought I was supposed to be. And I was like, okay, this is who. And then I would show up and everybody's in jeans and t-shirts and they were like, yeah, you could just hang out, man. I was like, all right, cool. So then like people would come in. Not necessarily knowing F5, but they would talk to me because they were like, oh, yeah, you're the guy in the shirt and tie. You must be the therapist. I was like, I just volunteer. I don't even know if I'm technically really volunteering here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just sitting here waiting to be told what to do.
Oh.
But, like, it was just, like, but this felt home. Like, F5 was
You
was my
volunteered
space.
for like 6 months
Yeah.
before you were on payroll because he was like, I was like, just show up.
Yeah.
Like, you'll find your spot.
Mhm.
And then he's kind of been a rover through the years, like, filling in gaps and fixing stuff to where he's, now he's administrator for, along with Cody Stanley
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, I love Cody.
But yeah,
The bow ties they were cute. You can, you can rock those. Yeah.
You're the only one here that can. I would love to see Curtis wear a bow tie.
Oh yeah.
I think he
Wouldn't that
could
be
do
cute?
it. He could maybe do it.
Well, have you guys seen Curtis? Curtis suits up
He suits
really
up.
well. Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't know it because he wears his Jordans all the time. But like,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is great. Remember when we did our headshots at outside the space, and he showed up in a suit. I was like, damn, okay, Curtis.
Yeah.
And he shut me down, but because that's Curtis. But it was nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It is nice. And the further it makes it hard for sometimes people to relate when they're new in recovery. Like, well, how could you have had a problem? You look all put together, you know what I mean? But that's the beauty of it. And I know a lot of people say like, well, how do you get to that place where you are, where you're sober and you can move to do better things or whatever. And addiction is such a crazy, if I could explain it, I'd be a millionaire, But how do you go from the place where they desperately want to get sober, and then we get sober, and the first thing I get back is my opinion, and that is like, kills me.
This coffee sucks.
Yeah, for real. All of a sudden I'm like, well, they said the word God, and I swear to God, if my dealer said, get on your knees and pray, well, that would have been different, totally day. But anyway, I would have done it in a heartbeat, you know what I mean? But then to do anything like that in recovery, suddenly it's like, well, that's not really what I want, or they're kind of cultish, or they were dressed up. All these details we get hung up on, where just a month ago I would do anything to stay high, Anyway, so trying to explain that to someone who's watching it as a family member, just to be like, why? All you have to do is go to like these 3 meetings a week. Just do what they're saying, And why can't you do it? And why can't you do it?
They can't, like, it's weird that recovery has such a high standard for the way that I feel, right? So, like, the amount of effort I put into things, they get better, right? If I put more effort into something, it gets better. It's pretty, like, plumbers become plumbers because they went to learn to plumb, right? Doctors went to school for a long time. I don't know even know it was plumb.
I don't know.
But they, like, people, like, they get it because there's and I think this is one of the major points, there's a reward on the other end. Right? If I go to school to whatever it is, and when I finish, I can get a job in that career and get paid more than if I won't. Or if I spend more time with my kids, right, there's a chance they're not going to go to prison. Like, there's carrots at the end of the effort. With recovery, there's not, like, I couldn't visualize all the other things that come along with just being sober.
Right.
And so that's why I think lived experience or people in recovery or sponsorship is because it gives you an idea, like when people are like, when you're looking for a sponsor, what do you look for? Well, look for someone who has what you want. Oh, and it's never he's 20 years sober.
Yeah, no.
It's he's got a hot wife, or he's got a corporate job or something. You know what I mean? It's always the things.
Right.
And that's why it's so much easier for us to work for things than it is for recovery.
Right.
Because I go to a meeting and there's no instant gratification till later. Because, later you'll be like, man, I'm really glad I went to a meeting.
Yeah.
Needed to hear that.
Right.
But early on, it's just like, who are these people?
Mm-hmm.
I was a little different, though. Because when I was like 19, because I went to meetings from 19 until 31 pretty much nonstop. But I didn't sober up until I was 31.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But by the time, at 19, 20, 21, somewhere in there,
Mm-hmm.
I had burnt everything
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even have a bunch of felonies yet. And I still, like, my, family didn't want to be around me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, but, like, I had no skills,
Mm-hmm.
right? I literally, my whole, like, it wasn't like my goal, but I would always find a girl.
Oh.
And then go live with her.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then I'd go work for a little bit just to get the heat off, and then, and then I'd start drinking, and then, burn everything to the ground, and then I'd go find the next girl. Like, that was like, it wasn't like that was my plan. That's just how it.
How the cycle.
It's easier. It's kind of the same thing that we found with girls when we were doing am I gonna listen to Adam or am I gonna listen to the guy that's gonna give me a place to live, give me drugs, and give me money?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Adam wants me to go to work.
Yeah.
Right, and like go to meetings and stuff, and have to deal with the shit that's in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can just go numb out
Mm-hmm.
and not work and whatever, right? And so that's that was what I saw with, and it's the same thing with recovery for me, is like, I guess I could go to more meetings and maybe feel better,
Yeah.
or I can drink, or go back and hang out with the friends that I enjoyed hanging out with.
Right.
Right.
That's probably the big one with younger, is that there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much to do. You just have to be, like, are you willing to be uncomfortable till things get better?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be uncomfortable. Meetings suck to go to some days. You know what I mean? I swear, every Tuesday's my home group, and every Tuesday I wake up, I'm like, I'm not going. I'm not going. And then it's ridiculous because I know if I go, I'll feel better. But are you willing to be uncomfortable long enough to have that start working out for you? You know what I mean?
You know what so whenever I talk to guys, I'm like, there's two people that you
Mhm.
need in your life. You need the sponsor. That one's a
Mhm.
given, right? Someone that you're giving them, or mentor, peer support, whatever the shit you want to call it.
Yep.
You're basically telling them, like, if you're really into this,
Mhm.
is you have my permission to talk shit to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
if
for
you
real.
see me doing something, or if I'm talking to you about something and you see a lot of self
Mm-hmm.
involved, or it's not gonna end well, like, you have my permission
Mm-hmm.
to kill the ego,
Right.
and I'm not gonna get mad at you, even though I'm gonna get mad at you, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna promise I'm gonna come back.
Right.
That's what, like, take me through the steps, take me through whatever program.
Mm-hmm.
The other person that I think was the most beneficial to me was the co-signing crazy buddy at meetings, where you could sit and talk about nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And then that person develops into, like, talking to them about the shit you're going to talk to your sponsor about. Right? Just because you could go to him and be like, listen, dude, I am doing some crazy shit. I'm going to probably get in trouble. I may get drunk. And they'd be like, crazy, bro. Like, it's not that they're necessarily co-signing it. They're just like, no judge.
Yeah.
Because they're just as fucked up as you are.
Yeah.
And you're both probably, like, maybe a year sober together,
Yeah.
or so, whatever. But that guy, I think, is almost just as important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think because that guy is the one who, like, kept me wanting to go to meetings.
Yeah.
Where my sponsor was just like, he had, like, the goalpost.
Yeah.
Like, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm going to do, he's going to help me get there, I'm going to call him, get current.
Yeah. Just another guy to tell you what to do, which
Yeah.
you've had for, you know what I mean? How many psychologists and therapists? Well, you've seen many, but.
Like the
I'm
day.
kidding. No, it is
Yeah.
though. You have to have somebody to normalize that. And I think community is like, well, we've all found that community is what keeps you there. I've never been sitting in a trap house or a bar and thought, what was that worksheet I did in treatment? You know what I mean? It's the people that I connect with at those meetings that I don't want to let down, that I'm willing to just like white knuckle it today and just get to tomorrow, you know?
I think I just don't want it to feel like work. And I think that's what I struggled with the most with recovery, is that it was a lot of work. And I just wanted to be able to like go somewhere and just like be accepted, find cool people, and not feel like it's a pain in the ass to just do, you know? And I think that buddy is the one that made it fun, you know? Which is, it's in seasons, right? So it's just like my buddy now is, you know, Curtis, right? We play video games together, Simmons, you know, Nolan. When I first got sober, it was Fred.
Yeah.
Fred was like, but Fred was a little different because he wouldn't let me, he called me on my shit, but then he'd like think it was funny at the same time. It was kind of like having, you know, like like if you don't know who the crazy guy in the group is, it's probably you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like, you know, they all have that one friend where it's just like, he's not really like us, you know, but he's kind of crazy. He's like the guy that's going to do shit and we'll just laugh about it or whatever. Like, that was kind of like how I felt with Fred. Is like, Fred was like, he's a felon. You know what I mean? He's my friend, you know. But we would sit like out. I was living in Horace, and I would just be like 3 months sober, and I would just be like going crazy with like all the responsibility of like paying bills and like going to work, and it's like that mundane, and there was like no reprieve. And then we'd get out to Horace, and I'd be like, all right, see you later, Fred. He was like, hold on, let's have a smoke or whatever. And we'd, you know, stand out and see all. He'd be like, man, look at all the stars. And I'm like, okay. Are you hitting on me, Fred? Is that where this is going? And then we just get like super like philosophical or theological.
Yeah.
Like, it would just like talk about things that you don't talk about like at work, you know? And I think that was like what appealed to me. It was like, you know, like one of the questions I always had is like, if God's so good, why is there so much evil in the world? You know, and then there was no answers, but it was like fun to talk about without, you know, someone's like, well, John 7:16, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that's cool that you know, or even any other religion, right? Like, they always had some. I remember when I was a kid, my mom was meeting with Jehovah's Witnesses, right? They came to the door, and I was like in 3rd grade. And I could tell you from the early days, I've always had an animosity towards structure of any kind. And so I went into my mom's room and I put on her like bra and panties.
Like you do.
You do when you're in 3rd grade and you're bored. And I walked out and I was like, hello, everyone. And this is how I know that probably the closest graceful, on the ground people you're going to meet outside of recovery is probably Jehovah's Witnesses. Because they're great people. Like everyone I've ever met, they're amazing people, right? And so they're like, she looks at me and she's like, join us. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like sitting there and just like trying to just divert all the attention away, wearing this bra, you know what I mean? And she's like, if you had a question for God, what would it be? And I'm like, I never thought of that. In this bra.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was like, what's the meaning of life? 3rd grade. And she's like, I'm glad you asked. And turned to the and they had a page that was like the meaning of life. And they like walked me through it, and I was like, all right, thank you. And then I just got up and left. Yeah. So like that kind of like just there's crazy people that show up at meetings. Yeah. The psych wards, like crazy in the sense of like, maybe like crazy, like, but like they feel crazy, and so then they show up to church or somewhere and they just don't feel. But then they come and they meet Kirsten, and they're just like, she's crazy. She gets me.
In a fun way.
In a fun way.
Yeah. I mean, my mom's doesn't think that's always fun. But I've gotten my mom to play Dirty Pictionary, and it's hilarious.
What is this?
It's Pictionary, only dirty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like you go outside and throw dirt on yourself and then play Pictionary.
Yep, that's absolutely it. Yep. You learn a lot of new words. Like,
Oh.
well, what is this actually?
I'm gonna have to check this out.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's called drawing with dignity or without dignity.
That's not what I thought you were gonna say.
Well, this is F5 Project. This is F5 Recovery Radio. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Coming up on the 45-minute mark. So we're going to have some closing remarks before we get out of here. Let you guys share whatever you'd like. And tune in next week. We're going to be We're going to be in KRFF, which shout out to them, Radio Free. We're looking forward to that. Be on the radio, have a little bit more broader perspective. We're going to have some special guests. We got some new topics that we're going to cover. Just all sorts of really good stuff. So if you guys want to just share a little bit before we get out of here and close it out.
Yeah, I guess, commercial time. We got the Opportunity Ball on February 2nd, and then, so get your tickets, get your tables, get your sponsorships, and then we're doing our first ever workforce conference in Bismarck instead of Fargo.
Awesome.
And so be on the lookout for people calling and getting you signed up and stuff for that. So, and then if you need to go to treatment, the Ridge is open. So
Awesome. Kirsten, what you want to share?
I guess, I don't have much that I'm doing except laundry and whatnot, but I just think this is a great opportunity to educate people a little bit and on the difficulties of addiction. Anyway, and I think that you guys are the most fun people to do it with. But yeah, no real message.
yeah, next Wednesday we'll play Dirty Pictionary while talking about recovery.
And we'll have to ASMR our pictures. Cause
What
it's
did
radio.
you say?
ASMR.
What's ASMR?
People who they get sensations from sounds, like scratching cups and doing all sorts of things.
I've never
No,
heard of this.
It's,
What?
no. Is that a
That's a real thing.
That's their title?
I don't remember
Or
everything.
diagnosis or something?
ASMR?
ASMR.
Oh, I thought you were talking about some weird shit on Reddit or something.
Well, I mean.
is that a thing you have, or is it like
Oh, you have it?
you have it?
Mhm.
So,
So sensations of like listening to breathing.
Yeah.
It just hits me in a fun way.
What?
like it's a good thing or it's
Mhm.
terrible?
Is this a diagnosis or a fetish?
I never actually gone to the doctor. So maybe a status.
Yeah.
Self-diagnosed?
I saw that on a website where they sold feet pictures too.
A little different.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Similar. But you just had a baby, congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, you didn't do much of anything.
No.
You invested 5 minutes in the beginning of that show.
You made an
Yeah.
investment.
Yeah.
You made a deposit.
Deposit.
So you're going to be tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it.
Is it a boy?
Richard the Fourth.
Oh, I love boys.
I thought his name was King.
Well, that's his nickname because Justin refuses to let me become Richard so he can become Ricky. Because that's how it goes in my lineage. Everyone becomes Ricky, or the sons always become Ricky, and then the husbands or the fathers become men and become Richard. But Justin won't let me grow up.
Nobody goes by Dick.
You will. Dick.
I see some potential here.
Yeah, so we're switching up the norms for him. But that was a King Richard.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well, congratulations,
Yeah.
Thank you.
babies.
Love him. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate it. Let's just shout out some main people. Kimberly Harden said, is in. Pam, Aunt Jamie. We love Aunt Jamie. She said, love listening to you guys. We'll be watching every week. And so we appreciate you. Please keep tuning in. I'll be back next week, next Wednesday, same time, different place. Catch us live on KRFF 95.9. And this is F5 Recovery Radio. This is One Pretty Ricky. I'm joined with my co-hosts, Adam Martin, Kirsten.
Yeah.
Kirsten.
Huovinen.
We'll get it.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll figure it out. And we'll
We
catch
call
you guys
worse.
next week. Love you.
Thanks, everybody. Peace.